afternoon, everyone. This is Jamal Baraka for GT Media Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about basically an addendum to the video I made last week concerning the whitewashing of Monica Rambeau from Marvel Comics. At the outset of this video, what I'm going to say is that the last video got some responses. People were saying that that there was no whitewashing and that Captain Marvel of the Kree was the first Captain Marvel, and that my video was factually wrong. When I say that Monica Rambeau is the first Captain Marvel, I mean the first person to actually have the name. I'm very aware that Captain Marvel, Marvel, exists in the Marvel Universe back in the 70s. I'm also keenly aware that Carol Danvers predates Monica Rambeau as Miss Marvel. My point was, beyond all of the BS in the video, was that Monica Rambeau was the first person to have the regular Captain Marvel title. And an even greater point I was making was that she has over a decade worth of history with the title, and the fact that Marvel has basically erased the character from all promotional material is a problem. But let's get back on topic. So this video is going to be covering another segment that was in the preview magazine. Most people haven't seen it. That book has probably been thrown away or handed out. But there was one interview with Margaret Stoll. And this Stoll has been writing Captain Marvel for the past few years. But it was one segment of this interview that really jumped out at me. And without further ado, here we go. She says, we've talked about this a little bit on the Women of Marvel podcast. Shout out to the Women of Marvel podcast. It's great. I love it. But I think part of it is that men are culturally trained to present their strength and women are culturally trained to sort of hide it. So I think that's part of what Carol is, an out and proud, strong female hero, and she's always going to get flack for that. But she's also one of the very few role models we have like that, which is why it's so important. She's also super flawed, she's funny, and that's sort of a wonderful side of her, but she's also just struggled as much as anyone else. So she's always about how her strengths and weaknesses are all sort of piled up together, and she's kind of great because she sort of owns it, you know? So that's just this segment, and at first glance it doesn't seem all that offensive or anything, but in the context of the MCU and Marvel Comics, this segment, she says that she's one of the very few role models we have that are proud, strong female heroes. And just looking at the MCU, we have Black Widow, we have Scarlet Witch, we have Okoye, we have Nakia, we have Gamora, and that's just to name a few female characters. We have Peggy Carter, and that's just MCU. Once you go into 616 Marvel Comics, there are literally countless female characters that fit the description that she gives here. And I'm not sure why these writers feel like Captain Marvel or any female character is like the only female character or woman to fit these check marks. And I think this is why fans tune out to these characters and they tune out to the direction of Marvel, because it's really condescending. How do you say that she's out and strong female hero, and she's also one of the very few role models we have like that? What about Jean Grey and Storm and Wasp and She-Hulk and Invisible Woman? And that's just off the top of my head at Marvel. And there's literally countless female superheroes. What really makes Captain Marvel different? And I think that problem with Captain Marvel is part of the reason why the character doesn't resonate. Nothing here stands out. Nothing in this brief description stands out for Carol Danvers. and nothing here really makes me interested in the character. I'm a fan of comic books. I just want to see superheroes beat up supervillains. I don't care about race, gender, or anything like that. I just want a good story. Just a sidebar to that point. Yesterday, I took my daughter and I took my son to go see Alita Battle Angel. And this came up in the podcast I do with Antonio Bryce, the Dollar Bin Reviews. And the movie was amazing. And it almost hit it hit pretty much every check mark that Captain Marvel wants. The movie has a diverse cast, featuring all walks of life, white, black, Asian. There were a lot of Hispanic characters in there. And it's just a melting pot of characters. And the movie was interesting. And he had a female lead. The director is Latino. Everything about that movie, from a perspective of just having a fun action movie, was perfect. The movie wasn't perfect, but everything that it represented was executed perfectly. The problem with Captain Marvel is that nothing here in any of the trailers really look all that interesting. The comics have been rebooted like 8 or 9 times. It's not really all that interesting. With something like Alita, the only thing I had to go by walking into Alita is I saw the trailer and I was like, whoa, this movie looks interesting. This movie looks good. My kids, we walked out of the movie and it was amazing. I didn't get beat over the head with a message, and at no point did the director have any like woke moments or anything like that. It's just Alita kicking ass, taking names. She's a strong character because she's a strong character. She's fleshed out. She feels like a real person. She feels like a great role model, and she's feminine. She seems like a real girl. Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, in the books and in the movie trailers, seems to be so set in one direction to preach a social message that's all that matters. And when you see stuff like this where it says, I think a part of it is that men are culturally trained to present their strength and women are culturally trained to sort of hide it. And I think that's what Carol is, out and out, strong, proud female hero. There's nothing wrong with that, but that shouldn't be what it's all about. If a good character everyone can relate to. I can relate to Storm, I can relate to Jean Grey, I can relate to Alita Battle Angel, or Ellen Ripley or Sarah Connor. As a father, I can relate to all these characters as a parent with children, with a daughter, with sons. You should be able to relate to any character. Captain Marvel or no hero should just be for one gender. I may not relate to everything that the characters are going through, but I should be able to relate to those characters on a human level. And that's what I think the problem is with the marketing for Captain Marvel in comics, Captain Marvel in the movie theaters. It's just weird. This is the weirdest situation I've ever seen for superhero movies. The trailers don't give you anything about the plot. They don't give you anything about the plot. There's just like a assortment of scenes that don't really go anywhere, and you're like, okay, well, I'm glad they don't show me the whole movie, but this is it. And then outside of the trailers, you have Brie Larson just all over the place, just, saying she doesn't want white men on her press tour, and she's clowning guys that try to talk to her or ask for her number or stuff like that. And it's like, what does this have to do with anything? What is this? So the only thing you have are like weird offhand negative statements that will tone people out, where you have other movies like Alita Battle Angel where you just see her kick ass and it's all the movie's about, and you can talk about it with your friends when you get out of it. Captain Marvel is like, I don't even know if I want to see that. And on that note, I'm going to cut this video down. This is just a random collection of thoughts based on practically nothing. So this is one paragraph segment of an article. You can catch me on my blog, which I've been doing. I just reviewed Martian Manhunter #2 by Steve Orlando, and earlier this week I did Wonder Twins #1 by Mark Russell. those are both great books, and you should check them out from DC. If you're still a comic fan and you're still reading these comics, it's worth your time. That's at gtmediareviews.com. And you can catch me on my YouTube channel on Facebook, T Media Reviews, or Twitter, Jamal is Trash.